But welcome to TWOOMPH. It is a lovely online open mic night. If you have joined us before, you will know that we are Tees Women Poets. That's the kind of people behind all of this at the moment, and we're here to ensure that everyone gets a platform and a voice to share their stories. So this is usually a really fun night of storytelling and poetry and shenanigans. So let me tell you a little bit about the structure of the night. So what happens is that we will have two halves roughly. We will have a bunch of readers. We will have a comfort break and shenanigans in the middle of the night, which is where you have a chance to go get yourself a drink, go get yourself comfortable, and then we play a game or we do something together. You do not have to get involved. Usually people do, but like it's entirely up to you whether or not you want to get involved or not. And then we go into our second half, so which is wonderful. We always have the words on the screen from our performers. Now, this is just to make sure that it's completely accessible. You should be able to turn on live captioning if you need that, but there will also be the words on the screen so that you can keep up. If you do not want to have that, totally cool. You can hover over the separation in the screen and make the words really small so you have the performer's head nice and big, or vice versa if you need it the other way around. I think that's pretty much everything. If you have any questions or anything else during the night, feel free to use the chat function. Also, please do use the chat function. That is your space. So like there are going to be plenty of times where you get to like switch your mic back on and we can chat. But if people are performing, we're going to have mics off. Please use the chat function because it is so helpful to know that you're enjoying, you're enjoying our work, like you're enjoying what we're doing. Let the performers know what you like and what you don't, preferably what you like most of the time, I think. But that would be great. And yeah, I think we should crack on with the wonderful JLM Morton. Let me tell you a bit about her as she comes to the microphone. So, right, pop down that. Yeah, all right. So we're delighted to have JLM Morton with us for our fairly new mini spotlight feature where we hand a double wide open mic slot to someone with something to shout about. JLM Morton is a writer and poet whose work explores rural identity and belonging, ancestry, place and practices of care, repair, and solidarity across human and other than human worlds. Winner of the Laurie, Geoffrey Dearmer, Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust Poetry, and International Dylan Thomas Day prizes, you can find her online at her website, which we will pop in the chat. Please go absolutely wild for Juliet. Woo!
Thanks, guys. Hang on. Can you hear me okay? I assume you can. Okay, I'm just going to start talking. I'm assuming you can hear me. Thank you so much for having me. I do feel like I've been given a bit of a key to sort of this brilliant secret community tonight, and I'm really pleased to be here. I'm going to read primarily from my collection, my first ever collection. It's coming out next week with Broken Sleep. It's called Red Handed. And the collection kind of starts by looking at the West Country, the sort of heritage really of the West Country broadcloth industry. So I'm really interested in working class voices that haven't been heard before, and also really like in how rural stories can speak to or kind of like illuminate like grand global narratives and sort of make them real. So the first part of my collection does this by exploring the rural textile heritage of the West Country. And it's kind of connections to the colonies and plantation slave labour. The red woolen broadcloth, I'm just going to do this intro, by the way, and then I'll just get stuck into the poems. I won't waffle on for too long, but that red woolen broadcloth that English soldiers are so famous for wearing, the red coats. And I don't know if any of you saw the King Charles portrait that was unveiled last week by Jonathan Yeo. That's a red coat, and that originates from the Stroud Valleys where I come from, and it's called Stroud Scarlet. And it's made from the wool of Cotswold sheep and the dye from cochineal beetles, which was harvested by enslaved and indentured people and shipped to Europe. And it was a really, really valuable commodity for colonial powers like Spain and Britain, precious, second only to sort of precious metals like gold and silver. So I'm going to read a couple of red poems to begin with, and the first is a key poem from the collection that sort of starts to try to get to grips with the quite complicated relationship, I think, between the white English rural working class and colonialism. leaning into the trouble. Would you believe me if I told you that I walked out one night to the common and my hands began to bleed, not blood, but dye, and the moon rose on the Scots pine, singing broken-hearted in Van Diemen's Land. With each cold step, there was a tearing as if time were being torn like cloth from a frame, and the sea came crashing over, warm waves of bioluminescence carrying iron chains, and the yoke's dull clunk. I fell to my knees, scraped the soil, turned up gold with my fingers, and the moon cried an ocean for the Truita, for the riches and the thieving, and my pilfering hands kept streaming red, and I don't think they put this in the history books. So the next poem is about the cochineal beetle, and it's called Life Cycle of the Cochineal Beetle, circa 1788. An egg breaks on the pad of a prickly pear, somewhere in Oaxaca, where the scale insect's livid bodies mass and crackle in the sun. Emerging, a crawler nymph clusters with the softness of her siblings to feed in the downy blanket, explorers edging to the brink of the known world. Nymph throws out a long wisp of wax, a thread to catch a ride on the wind, lifting and landing on the terra incognita of a new cactus pad. Her claim is staked with a stab of her beak. Cochineal sups the juices, sees off predators, lacewings, ladybirds, ants, with the bright surprise of her body. Fat, fierce and full of poison, she has detached her wings, has no need of legs. Holding her colour quietly in trust, she waits for the male to eat his fill, to mate and die. Scraped away at 90 days, her body is laid out and dried, pulverised, destined for dominion. So I'm going to read a sheep poem now. It wouldn't be a collection as partly about cloth if it wasn't if there wasn't a sheep poem in there. So this poem was inspired by a painting in our local museum of this absolutely giant ram, and it's got this young lad standing next to it looking incredibly proud. Nobody knows who he was. It's an anonymous painting, but it's really powerful. And I thought about that you for a long time. I thought about how proud he was. So here's a poem called Love Song for You, in the voice of a ram, of course. No beast grazes a hill as I do, ruminating on forbs and clover, the panopticon of my rectangular pupils set in gold. Count me, my lover, tup your coins. For you, I would kneel without lameness, which is to say, I'll remember if you go. I'm on the run with all the lustre of my fleece. I leap the gate, make of the dell a fire in my wake. The turn of a branch has nothing on your improbable limbs, the pride in the angles of your skull. Follow me as I follow you to each blade of grass. We will eat in the noiseless altitude. We will feast on the summit. So I spent a long time, I spent a kind of, 2 or 3 or more years writing about cloth and colonialism as a whole. There are many more poems than I've shown tonight. But it left me feeling quite alienated from my homeland, really, the place that's essentially my home. And I kind of wanted to renew my relationship after that and reclaim my connection to the land. So I decided to do that by swimming, because I swim outdoors all year round, and I just decided to swim and walk and trespass along my home river, which is called the River Churn. And I did that for 23 miles from its source. The next poem is a portrait of Rosmerta as a litany of complaints. So Rosmerta was this Gaulish goddess, so kind of came from North Belgium, northern France, and into the southern part of the UK. And she was, when the Romans came along, they always paired her with Mercury, and they were quite an interesting couple insofar as they were very equally matched and always presented in this kind of really equal way, in a way that I think we've sort of, you know, forgotten. Yeah, so Rosmerta's a bit grumpy in this poem. So this is her voice. Portrait of Rosmerta as a litany of complaints. Being goddess of prosperity deranged me, all that rotting flesh at my feet, the rancid fat I churned for millennia. Blue bottles stalked me with their revolting metallic, their faceted eyes, storming my coordinates to throw up. These stone feet cannot outpace the glut. Supplicants push on with their pleas, their need for bifold doors and bubble butts, competing for potential. My arms have collapsed with the gifts. Snakes curl round my staff and open their mouths wide in ways that turn them into vulva and phallus, divine balance of caduceus, more re-enchantment, more groundwater rising. Consort Mercury and I keep the quicksilver truth of a mirror held all around us. This is the incantation. Love is not battle or surrender. The statue is not the woman. It is not his body. The statue is a false icon, a history of how we have given. Okay, I'm just going to move away from the collection now and just do a couple of poems that are a bit newer. So this next one is called What Middle Age Taught Me at the Equinox, and it's a prose poem for the middle-aged women in the house. In answer to your question, I made love to him for at least the 1000th time, whispering into our peach-coloured linen sheets while the kids were still asleep and the bed was hot from the night. Outside, it rained hard, and the smell of water on the road drifted through the open window. Curtains moved the light, patterning our helpless limbs. Nobody admits you can make and destroy something a few times over, and it can endure. Love can return, and you can hate him and love him, and hate him and love him in ways only your body grasps, the tough, fibrous parts that unite muscle with bone. This is how I know it is the last day of summer, and my blood is turning brown with fragments of falling leaves on cotton. I step over the celestial equator into the next equally illuminated half, and the new freedoms I'm not meant to thrill for. I throw the windows open on yellow's longer wavelength, inhale the thickening atmosphere, gather in the scattered light and harvest moon, and I tell you this, knowing as I do now, that our failures and our fury love us more than the romance. We are living on instinct in this soft, wild kingdom, nosing at the trail of beginning afternoon. Okay, I'm just going to move on to now to a poem about, I've got a residency, it's quite a low key, but really lovely residency at the moment in a semi-urban woodland called Slagbank Woods. And I just go up there, it's sort of sandwiched between a housing estate and an area of outstanding natural beauty. And there's kind of quite a lot of interaction between sort of humans and nature in a way that's not always positive, and it's a kind of really interesting place to do a residency. So I just kind of wander up there every now and again and just see if there's any poems hanging around in the trees. And Late Warning, this poem is one of those that I found there one day. In the dream zone of winter, scarlet elf cups are scanning the future, acoustic mirrors funneling sound waves into the drum of the earth's core. They hold all forms of time at once, remembrance and discovery, a kingdom clustered in the temporal bowl of now. Triggered by a change in temperature, these feeders on the dead, these doulas of spring shoot into the air, sporulating throats of fresh cells, as if life could be infinite and bulbs could be rubbed for the green cries of Ramson, cuckoo pint, snowdrop. Who knows what they know of separation? They call to us, come closer. through the white noise of wind and traffic, lean in to the crucible, dissolve your fleshy borders, feel after the fire, how blissful the forest. Okay, my last poem is just a really short one. Probably like a lot of you, I've been trying to write war poems over the last few months, and they're hard things to write. So they've sort of, I suppose, you know, had varying degrees of success. But this little poem is about a little baby that I just can't stop seeing in my head all the time, and I keep going back to the image of her. So sort of, I guess, trigger warning for, you know, brutality, just to warn you, it's, you know, it is what it is. Lullaby for mothers. Her lips are circled to suckle. She has eyelids of pearlescent shell. Her legs have been ripped to red tentacles, and the hand, her severed hand, with its clotted frill of wrist, placed so carefully, a simple gesture, her upturned hand placed to guard her tenderly, so safely by her side. That's it from me. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Much appreciated. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much, Juliet. That was amazing. Please give it up for JLM Morton. Woo-hoo! Amazing, thank you so much. Juliet, if you wouldn't mind popping your socials and the name of your book and various things in the chat so that people can follow and find out more about you, that would be amazing. Okay, fantastic. Well, next we have the wonderful Aisha Lama. So let me tell you a bit about Aisha. Actually, no, I can't tell you a bit about Aisha. She didn't give me a bio. Aisha, you're gonna have to tell us about yourself.
Oh,
Everyone,
sorry.
Aisha, the microphone. Woo!
Hi, I'm Aisha. I don't know what to say now. I'm a poet. I'm studying for my MA at Teesside University, and I've been a member of the TWP for about coming up to a year now. I did the spoken word bootcamp last year, and I'm here now and doing lots of little performances. So yeah, that's me. So this poem I wrote a while ago. It was when I first moved up here, which was nearly 5 years ago now. And it was we went to visit the beaches, and it just really kind of put so much beautiful imagery into my mind. I had to write about it. And yeah, it's called Beached. Tide turning, children scatter, shrieks of laughter drift through the air, a sand village destroyed by a breath of the ocean. Buckets, spades frantically clatter, a desperate attempt to delay the inevitable. Bitter wind slaps my cheeks as my stomach growls and groans, and salt dances on my lips, taunting me with tastes of the sea. I wish to be as free as the giggles that flow, but instead my focus remains on the impossible task of rebuilding the castles as wave after wave crashes through. Thank you. And then this next one I've performed a couple of times recently, actually. I know a couple of people in here saw this the other night. But it's basically about kind of my journey with anxiety. Over the past year, kind of joining the Tees Women Poets was a huge deal for me. It was the first time I'd really thrown myself into something unknown and new, and something I was really passionate about. And I still battle with anxiety, but it's gotten so much better now. And I'm kind of writing a series of poems that reflects on my journey and how I've kind of learned to live with it. My little knot, wrapped around my fingers, hanging from my nails, intertwined with itself, and my soul bears through a nest of love, fear, and begging to belong. She resides in my stomach and apparates through sweat glands, and she is me, wound tightly, pulled together tighter than my local chippy chies their takeaway bags. She is mine and she is me. Her fuzz and frizz aggravate my intestines, sending signals that shouldn't be there, and she cries for attention, appeasement, acknowledgement that she still exists. My little knot hangs off every word I say, weighing it down. Thank you. And then this final one I wrote during a trip to Portugal last year. We went to Porto and it was the most beautiful place. But there were so many of these houses that were just abandoned and had been kind of taken over by flowers and vines. And I knew that I had to write about it. So I called this one The House by the Sea. You can see right through her, empty inside, abandoned, windows shattered and soul divided. The pigeons call me over, cooing at each other, telling tales of the empty souls trapped in crumbling mortar. Vines twist and turn, swallowing iron bars, dusted with speckles of rust and drowned by rivers of ivy. Legs engulfed by violet petals, longing for affection, to be brought back to full glory and protected from endangerment. Peeling walls and dripping pipes make her feel as she doesn't belong. There's no pride to be found in the worn and dirty cobblestones. I press my hand to her weakest wall to feel the presence of a heartbeat, embrace her pain, embrace her loss, promise to bring her to maternity and share her story so her legacy remains eternal. And that's me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aisha. Please go absolutely wild. Woo! Amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Aisha. And yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to see all the stuff that you're doing at the moment. Absolutely brilliant to have you with us. All right. The wonderful Carmen Marcus is next. The wonderful Carmen Marcus did not give me a bio. I know quite a lot about Carmen Marcus, but I'm not going to give an off the hoof bio. So you are welcome to introduce yourself or just go straight into pieces, whatever you would like. Please welcome Carmen to the microphone. Woohoo!
Oh, hey, Roo. I'm so sorry about not providing you with a bio. It was all a bit last minute. Yeah, so I'm Carmen Marcus. I write poems, I write poetry, I write novels, I write plays because I'm massively indecisive. And I love playing with everything in the box. So I guess that's pretty much me. I always go back to the first poem I ever wrote, which was about a fox. And my primary school teacher said, weird, -1 house point. And that is pretty much my poetry mantra, which you'll probably discover in a second. And okay, so the poems that I'm going to read are kind of some not necessarily connected. So this is a poem called School's Out. It was written as part of a commission for a project called Bus Stop Goths. And it's the story of essentially it's a story of becoming a goth, and it was inspired. I did lots of interviews with baby goths. I am a lapsed goth. I managed to grow up and landed on the darker side of beige rather than black. So the you can only do so many summers in the northeast wearing PVC, and eventually you have to give it up. So this poem was inspired by the discussions that we had about autism, ADHD in school, and the wonderful line that when I interviewed the baby goths was, you know that goth is the only option when you realize that you're the weirdo at school. So this is all about that. Okay, I do get a bit sweary because I've got a 7-year-old and I'm allowed to swear in poems, so please don't feel offended. Right, School's Out. No child wants to go to school. You ever ask why? Let's bring the child's voice into this. My head is going crazy. Why? You're not listening. Why are you hitting your head? I don't want to go. Why are you holding your breath? I don't want to go. Why won't you go to school? The mouth. The mouth in the corner of Mr. Webster's room is a stain or a mold, and it grows whenever he asks a question in class that makes the crow in my head too hard to hold, and it rattles and craws, and the mad shit it talks flies out in a bouquet of feathers. And the mold grows a mouth with burned lips that spit, mosher, weirdo, freak in gobs that stick to my back. Then it grows and it grows, a skull around lips, but its eyes are still holes. And then it grows and it grows, and it sits at the back and it wishes me dead. And it whispers to kids, join in the attack. And the teacher says, shh, fingers on lips, and the mouth answers back, oh, it's just for a laugh. And the mouth says squeeze, and the mouth says grab. I am skin, just skin. I tell myself when they try to get in. And the mouth, what a big mouth it is. I see, you see, I see, but you still have to go to school. Why? Try, make an effort, fit in, be basic. Or a victim, just try to what? Keep the freak on the inside, like you. Fuck you. That's policy. What more can they do? It's up to me. It always has been. I become a conscientious objector to the cunt factory. Instead of taking the bus to school, I swerve into the library, sink in a beanbag, balance books on my knees, nurse cramps with chocolate, and let my pre-diagnosis crow brain loose on all it can chew. And it chews through the walls between teenage and paranormal. I meet the murder. Poe, Lovecraft, Shelley, Stoker, Arthur C. Clarke, Goethe, Le Fanu, Angela Carter. And they show me the way to the bright side of darker. So that is how to become a goth. And then the next poem that I'm going to read, which I've everything's kind of fallen out of order. Where's 1, 2, 3? I've lost page 4. Here
Just
we go.
want to check, is it the burnout dress?
It is the
Yeah.
burnout dress. Thanks, Humira, for the rescue. So this is part of a series of weird stuff that I'm creating that's half mad illustration collage, half rant. And it's called the Burnout Journal because I've had, I run through various different cycles of burnout as I try to manage my creativity, being a mother, and the craziness that's being a freelance creative in a world that's kind of where the infrastructures are crumbling beneath your feet. And I reached a major burnout point sort of this spring, and I wanted to create this place where I could box the reflections on what was causing the burnout, what happens, how it unravels, and just drop the mask a little bit and invite conversation and invite hopefully other people if they connect with that. So this is the burnout dress, and the illustration that you see on the bottom right hand corner is an illustration that is a collage that I made to go with this poem. Let's talk about the mask. Let's talk about all the energy it takes to hide all the people who made you, all the people you are, and the damage you do cutting yourself to fit the rules of the dominant group. How much energy it takes to silence, to hide, to fake it. The energy that goes into making the burnout mask that says, I'm fine. I'm one of you. I'm fine. I'm one of you. Let me in. Let me pass. I'll just chuck my mental health in the bin on the way in. I've made this dress from all the women who made me, from all the women I am and have been. This dress that is not invited to the ball. It doesn't fit the dress code. Find the muscle skeiner, the cleaner, the mosher, the hippie, the slag, the victim, the virgin, the school refuser, the fishwife, the warrior, the barmaid, the commoner, the weirdo, the teaser bitch, the bait, the scrubber, the mothers, the motherless mother, the sleep-wrecked mother. She clawed, growl womb, don't fuck with my kid because he doesn't fit, mother. You touch him with that label and I'll bite you, mother. The glorious no more fucks, to give, laughing hag. The energy it takes to keep them all inside is the equivalent of 3 Chernobyl explosions or 7 Hail Marys or 150 milligrams of sertraline. What would Vivienne Westwood say about my dress? Would she ask me what my parents did? Would she ask me who let me in? Would she tell me to be ashamed to wear the seams of my origins on the outside? And what if I wore it anyway? Let all their voices blow the bloody doors off, because really I'm so tired of all the doors, the no's, the rejections, the thanks, but no thanks. Cut yourself to fit and we might give you a chance. I'm sick of wasting all the energy on the mask when I could be fucking dancing in this dress. So yeah, that's kind of like a concentrated rant. And the final poem that I want to read is Thursday's Goth Night, which is from the from the Goth collection. Oh, no, sorry, it's not Thursday's Goth night. This was another kind of splurge that I did for NaPoWriMo. And I kind of just wanted to get that feeling of, to capture that feeling of what it's like to kind of to go out on a night. But it's also this whole kind of, my entire life I've been told that nothing can happen in my hometown, that I have to leave it. So this is about it. This is exploring that relationship with a place that is simultaneously the place that inspires your child mind, but can also break you at the same time. And it's called Wrecked. I was born in a winkle shell, slipped out into the dawn spill, waters broken by blackbird's sweet break, springtide kicking the beat up to the drop, chopped up with kitty-wake bass. This is my churching, first Holy Communion, God rushing, rising to an anti-drop when puberty kicks in and the brain interprets predictions, patterns, and sees no future here. In the pre-central gyrus, for a lass who knows the stations of the cross, speaks cat, reads footnotes, pairs a tea dress with docs, and wants above all to split the body from the soul, a drop technique for the kid whose hometowns end with a bar of silence. When I can't go forward and I can't go back, I fall headfirst into a litre of Scrumpy Jack, sweet and dry cheese and chive from the mouth of the guy who swigged before me. And there on the steps opposite the marine, where we sat down on the wasted land and got wasted, a mortal of moshers, goths and hippie chicks wearing baby down feathers. We made wasted our religion, acid, ease and whiz, and nothing was enough to shake that rigid soul loose, stuck fast as cherry converse to a skanky dance floor, walking home arm in arm with each other's shadows to the attic flat in Diamond Street, where absinthe brought the green fairy pit-patting a Kaylee behind our eyes, soul still velcroed to our ribs, and we lashed ourselves to the ship of Wrecked and smashed the bright petals of our bodies against the rocks to spill our souls, but they still clung to our driftwood bones. We knew we were ghosts, as bright as we burned, as gifted as we were, and make no mistake, intelligence grows wild here, as fierce as gorse. The body's natural reaction to movement is movement, and the music stopped, and no fucker should be allowed to do that to a whole generation and call an escape hatch to the parasitic city via a motherload of debt, opportunity. I want to live and die here, sing and write here, of here, for here, and haunt the dunes and bring back loons and cause an interpersonal synchronization event with the sea's susurration. I don't want to be leveled under the tarmac of your lap of imagination. You can't hear it, can you? Collective movement of people can cause changes. Collective movement of people can cause changes. Collective movement of people can cause changes. Tune.
Amazing. Please go absolutely wild for Carmen. Woo!
Thank you.
Amazing. And if you do not follow Carmen already, please, Carmen, if you can pop yourself or your socials in the chat so that people can find you and follow you and see what you are up to, that would be amazing. What an incredible set. Thank you so much. All right. Our final performer for the first half is the fantastic Rochelle Hanslow. So let me tell you a bit about her as she comes to the microphone. So Rochelle is a Scottish neurodivergent and chronically ill poet and writer. She's been widely anthologized and will soon feature in the Purposeful Mayonnaise and on Eat the Storms podcast. Rochelle regularly performs online and is pursuing publication of her first pamphlet under the editorial guidance of poet Laurie Bolger. So please go absolutely well for her as she comes to the microphone. Woo woo!
Hello. Okay. So these ones that I'm doing tonight, they were actually written in the last week or two. So they're brand new and have never been performed before. So let's see how this goes. The first one is called Review of My Body, and it was an idea that came to me. I have body dysmorphia, and I'm learning at the moment to try and see myself in a different light. So I thought I'll make myself an Amazon review and see how it goes. So been in it 36 years and still not sure I'd recommend. It's not what the others look like online, and I'm not sure of the fit. The eyes are very nice colour and the eyelashes are good length, but they need maintenance every 2 years and can't function without the proper numbers and lenses. The teeth are pretty good, nice and straight, do their job, and the tongue functions well. The downhill is a lot of words can roll off it without any kind of filter. The face has some really nice shapes, but recently there is more poundage around the chin that's taken away from the sturdy but delicate structure of the cheekbones. The head is very busy, mostly broken glass and burst balloons, but there are moments of brilliance, wisdom beyond years. The shoulders are akin to bricks, holding up worlds, houses, hearts, but they still move. The back is bumpy, a curved country road. Discs have been shifted and refused to move, so it's not the same as it used to be. The chest is inflamed and has a mind of its own. Some days it can expand with each lungful of air, and others it refuses, pops out ribs like a toddler kicking off shoes in a buggy. It has had many compliments, mostly unwelcome, and has been diminished to a rack for people to lay their gaze and saliva upon. The stomach, waist and hips have always been a problem, very difficult spots to ever get to sync up. There are stretch marks lightly shining upon the skin there from opinions and baby growth. The hips like to get up and leave in the middle of the night, but get stuck in a ditch for a few days and have to come on back. It's the womb and ovaries that have given me the most trouble. I couldn't house a child at first, beginner's mind, didn't know what to do, but it learned eventually. It has its own scars, though, from all of it. They scream several times a month about it. Their discontent has now seeped into the stomach and bowels. The legs are often likened to tree trunks by the tongue. They can be heavy, not always as stable as others, but they can move, and sometimes it's not as painful. The fingers are long and made for piano, or that's at least what Granny used to say. The feet like to feel the moss and soil under them. I've found it the best way to quickly hydrate the soul. Overall, it has a lot of potential, and maybe one day soon, I will give it 5 stars. The next 2 poems were written actually last week in the fantastic Laurie Bolger's workshop with the Emma Press, and it was Writing Resilience. This first one, She Lived to Wear Sun Hats in the Garden, is actually after a photograph I took of my gran, who passed away quite a few years ago now with dementia. But this photo of her always sticks in my mind. And as soon as Laurie said the prompt, I knew exactly what I was going to write. So, she lived to wear sun hats in the garden. I watch her, just sitting, between pampas grass and daisies, on a green wooden bench. She is just smiling, wearing a sun hat and a thin red jacket, despite it being the height of summer. Forget-me-nots garnish her head, and I hope they can bring it all back. Pull memories like cookie dough from inside. Remind her of my name, of the brush and shovel on Sunday mornings, of all the what's namings she used to know. But here we sit together, happily decorated in the rays of now. And this last one is surfacing, and it's a little bit really about chronic illness, how so much of life has been spent either housebound or in a bed for me over the last kind of 12 years. I'm doing much better in recent years, but when I first got diagnosed, yeah, my bed was all I had. And then when I fell pregnant with my eldest son, I have 2 children, they're both neurodivergent. I got a lot of hate from the chronic illness community. So this is surfacing. Many days have been spent in a bed. My legs became anchors in turbulent waters. Every muscle crumbled like sand through fingers, and as I lay here, remembering the fast days, water splashing, motorways, fields ready and open, like my heart was for you, I understand that my body was your bed too, my skin your sheets, my womb your pillow, where you jumped and transformed into a dream. Thank you very much for having me again.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rochelle. That was beautiful. Please go absolutely wild for her as we finish that second half. And also, Rochelle, please put your socials or what you're getting up to in the chat so that we can follow you and find you, and that we don't miss out on what you're getting up to. Right, folks, that was the first half. How are you all doing? Yeah? Amazing. All right, so this is the part of the show where we usually do shenanigans. Now, shenanigans is we get up to shenanigans, and basically this is usually a game. It's a prompt. It's something. So I'm going to share something with you, and then I'm going to give you a prompt, and then after that we're going to have a quick comfort break, so you have a chance to get yourself comfy, but also to start this prompt, and then I'll tell you what time we need to be back to kind of carry on with the performance. So today I'm just going to quickly share. Oh, this is there we go. Fantastic. Okay, so nominally we have a spring theme for this particular open mic night this month. Yes, I know we didn't shout about it hugely, but I wanted to share a piece with you and then explain what we're going to get up to. So this is a personal poem that I wrote a few years back. It's never been published. It was just for me. I want to tell you what bluebells smell like. If I were a sommelier, I would tell you it's a woody bouquet with floral notes, which says nothing. If I were high, I'd say they smell blue. If I were a 5-year-old, I'd tell you they smell nice or too much, which would tell you I'm an honest critic. If I were older, I'd say they smell like May, which would tell you I have learned the rhythms of the seasons. If I were a Victorian diarist, I'd say they smell like lily of the valley and damp earth and green, which would tell you every nature lover is half poet and half pedant. I want to tell you what bluebells smell like. They smell like when you were moved to the hospice and we got out the car and couldn't smell hospital. They smell of bruised perfume because someone didn't stay on the path, and upturned soil and the rain I wanted to package up and bring into your room. They smell like confusion. They smell like your scowl when you were being told to keep your arm down so you wouldn't pinch the cannula, and the squeeze of your hand on mine. I want to tell you what bluebells smell like, and I can't. I'm a writer, and I can't. Because I'm worried that bluebells don't smell like bluebells anymore. And then next May, they'll smell just like you, and you aren't here. So, sorry, I should have done a trigger warning of, by the way, it's absurdly sad. But the theme is spring. And the prompt is, I want you to start off your piece with, I want to tell you. So if you had to describe something of spring to someone, what would you end up telling them? Which memories, good or bad, are held in that thing? So we call that a motif. It doesn't really matter. The point is, think of a thing to do with spring, and start telling someone about it. And the prompt is, I want to tell you. And you can say, I want to tell you as the phrase as many times as you like in the piece. And it's just for you, just for us. If you have like, you know, a piece of paper, if you have your computer, whatever it is you'd like to write on, I'd like you to write for a few minutes, and then see what you come up with. You are welcome to share it in the chat. That is amazing. It's not going to go public. It's not going to be shared elsewhere. We love sharing our work together, but it's entirely up to you. This is just for you. And the second thing is, obviously, this is also part, sorry, just stop the share. This is partly for comfort break as well. So we're going to give it 5 minutes. So we're going to come back at 19:32 tonight because we're running a little bit later than usual. Okay, so 7:32, and we will be back. Okay.
I am here, but I'm chewing crisps, so it's probably best not heard or seen. You're muted.
Good point. Thank you. Thank you for your service. We appreciate that. Amazing. If you are almost back or coming back into the room, please let me know. That's great. Wonderful. We have Laurie. We need Laurie. So this is all good. Smash in. Give it another 30 seconds. And hello. So good to see people's faces. Wonderful. Sorry about the very short shenanigans and comfort break. Didn't feel like it was the most important part of the night tonight. We've had so many incredible words and wanted to give them space instead. But yeah, usually we have a little bit more time and space for that. So thank you for your incredibly speedy wheeze. Thank you for getting yourselves a bevy, getting yourselves sorted and coming back for our incredible headliner for tonight, who I will be introducing you to very shortly. Which is amazing. Did anyone find that prompt helpful, useful, or you can take it away? You can use it outside of this as well. It's just a little something to get your brain tickling and going. So amazing. Fantastic. All right, let me tell you a bit about Laurie. I'm sure you're all here for her tonight, and I'd love to tell you a bit about her as she comes to the microphone. And I'm going to sort myself out. There we go. All right. Laurie Bolger, ladies and gentlemen, is a London-based writer and the founder of the Creative Writing Breakfast Club. Laurie's work has been widely anthologised and is featured at Glastonbury, Tate and Sky Arts. Laurie's first publication, Box Rooms, celebrated community and her W10 roots. This year, Laurie was the winner of the Moth Poetry Prize and was shortlisted for the Sylvia Plath, Bridport and Forward Poetry Prize. Her latest books include Makeover and Spin, celebrating the resilience of working class women, autonomy and love. Please go absolutely wild as she comes to the microphone. We're so lucky to have her. Hello, Laurie.
Hey Rue, thank you. Hey everybody, how you doing? Thanks so much for all your poems. I love a Zoom gig, like I love it. I find when you've got to sit quite still in a room, I can't take the poems in as well as when I'm sort of pottering around my space. I absolutely love it. So it's just been really nice to kind of, be at home with no bra on and no shoes on and listening to good poems. So, you know, what more can you ask for? So I'm going to read for about 15 minutes. So I guess if we're being cheeky and saying 35, Rue, when do I finish then? 40, 45?
Finish at 5-2.
5-2, 55, all right.
Sorry, 10-2. Sorry. Lies, absolute lies. 10-2. 50.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought, yeah.
I got all distracted. Yeah, 5-0.
Yeah. All right, great. Perfect. So this is like when I did a 15-minute set in a piano bar and I said, how long have I got left? And the host heard how long have I got and said 15 minutes. And I was like, oh, was I meant to do half an hour? So carried on for another 15 minutes. So yeah, I won't do that tonight. But anyway, it's so lovely to be here. And I'm gonna try and read a bit of everything. So for a really, really long time, I just had the one publication and it came everywhere with me, and it's still like a really lovely old friend, so I will read from it. But this year, in the same month, in March, I had 2 pamphlets come out at once, and next March I'll have a full collection coming out too. So I'm really wanting to just read as many things from them as I can, but I guess maybe we should pick. So what do you want to hear from first? We got the pink one, Makeover, Working Class Barbie. We've got The Old Friend, W10. That's the first book. Spin, lots of poems set on a stationary spin bike, probably like The Naughty Child, but the favourite one of the lot. And then I've also put in the new collection just because I think it's a nice opportunity to maybe read some brand new ones. So it's up to you. Where do we want to go first? I never really get a proper set list because I feel like it changes. I always change it anyway. So okay, Makeover, please. All right, brilliant. This is for Rochelle then. So yeah, I'm going to dive into Makeover. So yeah, like I say, Makeover is sort of working class Barbie, I suppose. I love the cover of this book, which is by the brilliant Emma Press. Amy Louise Evans did the cover, and the cover really holds a lot of the images that happen throughout the book. So it's So I'm going to read the first poem and the last poem, without spoiling it too much, because I was talking to somebody the other day and they said, I love how the first poem and the last poem speak to each other. And I was like, genuinely, I hadn't actually noticed until I knew that this was the first poem, and I knew that the last poem was the last poem. Absolutely knew that I wanted the last line of the last poem in the book to be this. But then actually, the more I read from the book, I'm like, yeah, actually, it really does. So it's dedicated to my nan, who was a very hardcore single parent in a time when it was probably, just as hard, but probably a bit more judgy. And I think that she did the most amazing job and was part of a really long line of very hard-working women. So this is Peach. In the working men's club, they played pennies from heaven. All the kids would run onto the dance floor to pick up the coins the adults had dropped. The working men's club with the long wall in front. And one big tree where people dropped in and dropped their souls like the pennies onto the shiny floor. How could you want more than this? It was boiling that June, washing up bowls for paddling pools. The girls made stress balls, the boys made water balloons. So the compere called the same man up to sing. I pulled her from her glittering packaging. I wanted everything for her, a moth in a crush of stars. Mum walks through the door in her new coat, red with matching hat. She must be about 8 or 9, and my mum is shy. Tough frown, but shy. Her and Nan had to walk through the men's bar to get to the women's bit out the back. All the men shouted, Red, all right there, Little Red Riding Hood. At night, I imagine myself with the neighbours' gelled curtains, the boy next door who suggested a wet t-shirt contest, and we all lined up. I pulled 2 bits of hair down like Sporty. I thought I told you about the committee member's wife, the woman who ran the snack bar where you could buy a single sausage on a stick, always for 6pence and burnt. Imagine the ballroom thick with drink, in through double doors, Mum holding Nan's hand, holding on tight, like she was tight-roping the long wall outside. She must have been pretending to be a film star, hand glued to her shell mirror. And later, fizzy Coke and crisps, her pushing the coins into her small hot palm, gathering them up quick, the coppers falling from the pockets of Mr. Ambrose, Edith and Jean, Rita, fat peaches, penny sweets, French chalk, women waltzing like they were well-to-do and in love. I didn't learn to skateboard that year. I rode in the passenger seat of my cousin's dirt truck, the first lesson in loving men until they die. I want to twirl her the way I twirl in the living room some nights. I let her go in the cul-de-sac, her plastic wings carrying her as far as the front lawn. Nan had her hair done in the peachy salon. The men talk shit and the women look lovely. Why don't you show Mary your cloak before it gets dirty? Between pictures of boxers, they fight at the bar. The dusty ceiling with one balloon stuck, high heavens. They'll need a ladder to get it down. I remember when Heidi's homemade stress ball exploded. She caught the flower in her skirt and carried it for a long time. So we're going right down to the bottom. You'll notice my formatting is chaos, so I might have done you a bit of a favour there, you lot who have done those beautiful slides. Everyone, I'm like a typesetter's worst nightmare, based on the fact that a lot of the poems that I've written lately look like this and have to be like turned on their side and stuff. But anyway, this is Swim. So when my pastel coloured swimming costume started to wear away at the chest, it told my legs to keep on swimming, to be flecks of 80s confetti and prick the man who called them pins. Nice pins, he kept saying, from the window of the plastic barber shop, the bus stop, the supermarket floor. I swam past them all. The little men got stuck in the filter like they told me I would with all my hair. My fake glow fell away. I swam past the prom dress on the hanger and through the turnstile at Lofters Road. This time, not like an animal waiting half finished to be told not to dilly-dally or that I had bedroom eyes, but this time to kick back, past all the perfect people in all the perfect towns who weren't perfect, and nor was their town, past the commuters who shouted, "Sack the juggler." I left them to clumsily drag themselves home plastered. And I swam past the road where women take their joy out with the bins, past the chippy and the bikes, the barman who asked me to stay, past the local who asked what my real job was anyway as he highlighted the TV guide. And I thought about my mum all those years and her heart, a big octopus of a thing that was inked to see what was going on with it. And mine kept on floating, so I kept on going. Past the girls who threatened to drown me, past the big brick they kept making us dive down for, I took off my cap and I swung it. And my hair was whiter than the tiles shine. I climbed out of the chlorine, and the legs of the mums in the gallery cafe all cheered. And I was the most upright thing. Thank you very much. Right, let's go to spin next. Let me show this one. So when I launched this book, it was in William Wordsworth's house in the Lake District. And it was, I read in the library next to a big picture of him. And my dad came to support me at the back. And he said some of the words and phrases have probably never been heard in that library. And I was like, yeah, very true. And I asked the audience if anyone had any requests, and obviously no one said anything because it was a brand new book. And then I said, sorry, who do I think I am? Bruce Springsteen or something like that. And now my dad rips it out of me for that, and I'm sure someone actually messaged me and made a joke about that from my breakfast club that I run. So anyway, I'm going to ask, is there any requests? And that is your bloody content. So put it in the chat and I'll read it. Maybe we'll do two. We'll do two, depending on how long they are, or just unmute and shout one out, like heckle, like out of control. Okay, dandelion and weights, brilliant. They're both really short, so this will be perfect. Okay, so and they're actually quite in keeping with each other, actually. Let's start with weights. So yeah, there's a bit of the spin class. In fact, I'll read both of these and then dandelion because we've got time. So a spin class is basically a stationary bike. You pedal and it kind of goes nowhere. But for me, I go everywhere and I think up loads of really good ideas on the bike. And I've tried writing in a notepad and it doesn't work because it's quite joggy. So I write into my phone and really probably piss the instructor off. But there's lots of poems in this book in praise of spinning and how much it's taught me about my body, because the gym where I go hasn't got any mirrors, so you just literally ride in the dark, and I cry and I grunt and I get my thoughts together, and I think of women in my family a lot, especially my nan who never learnt to ride a bike, and my other nan who used to nick this big boy's bike from outside the chippy, take it for a ride and then put it back. So yeah, there's just lots still to be written, I think. But like when the bird got stuck in the window of the sweet shop on Oxford Street, I want to praise the instructor who, like a preacher, eases our full heart, says, come with me, open yourself up to it. We are an army of little bikes pedaling into the gym's clammy air, 1, 2, 1. Chasing all the things we can't weigh and want to. She says heavy, she says grit. And when we're finished, give yourself and your neighbour a big round of applause. And so then we clap ourselves, sweaty and shaking. I imagine her cutting onion for bolognese quietly in her kitchen, her other half around her, soft dough. So they always have a weights track. So weights. And you lift the little weights off the back of your bike, like Jim Barbie. Like shopping bags, they make us slump. So the instructor shouts for us to pull up. Whatever brought you here, hold it out. And she counts, and I pull up and in, like when I dragged mum's heavy shoes around the kitchen. I keep going. Okay, and then dandelion to finish here. So this is a little one. Dandelion. You'll probably guess that there's a lot about my mum in this book. This poem is for her, about her, and anybody strong. Yeah, Dandelion. Stubborn little thing, so familiar with the city, never fails to push itself up at the side of pavements, dig deep roots in alleyways, in the hottest of summers, challenges the concrete. Okay, let's do one from Box Rooms and one from the new one, and I guess that will be time, if that's all right with you. Okay, so you're gonna have to, actually, I'll just have to make a decision, won't I? What shall I do from this one? Okay, I'll read W10 from this one. So W10 is where, actually, no, I'll read this one. This is about my Irish nan. It's after a poet called Tom Weir, who I'd really recommend reading. He's absolutely brilliant. But this is Embers. The turf fire burns out and holds the last heat like whiskey dregs. It's not ready to go out yet. There's still a little bit of warmth left, so we gather round to savour the last spark. I remember when we fed that fire until it was fierce with everything we could find. We loved to watch the crisp packets set alight inside and then die like our little laughs when she told us not to do that. Sometimes we thought its flames would set fire to the ceiling lamp or the piles of cards that we hid in our laps. Now grown up, we are having a nightcap. We know it won't be long, but we don't say anything like that. We just speak by her bed in hushed, heavy breaths, the small crackle of firewood inside her bony chest. Okay, last little bit from me. And I'm going to try and read one from the new collection. I wish I had longer. I'm loving this. It's so nice to do a gig with no shoes on, to such a lovely group of people whose poems are really great. So this is Lady. What we saying? Someone pick one and do it quickly. Otherwise I'll never finish.
Tomboy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. You went in. This is a bloody weird one. Right, so my granddad in Ireland bought me a little pet lamb when I was little because I was obsessed with, like, you know, all them animal books like Lamb in the Laundry and like things like that, you know, and I was like obsessed with, like, I wanted to be a vet. And anyway, he bought this lamb and it was absolutely ridiculous because I was like a city kid, and used to go out and hang out with this sheep and like sleep in the shed with it and everything. And I called it Tomboy because that's what my granddad, his kind of pet name for me was, I suppose. So anyway, this is a very weird one. And it's nice that you've picked it because it's punctuated by tiny hearts, which you can see. I'll make it a bit bigger. Okay. We're asked to show our pets, so I hold a photo of a little lamb, this pert little thing hopping all over the kitchen. I show the class where I spend my summers hanging out with the daisies. In the playground, I tell them he's named after me, or what my granddad calls me anyway. It's silly. I make up a name, something sweet like spring. After school, I queue for magazines with girls holding fluffy animals in headbands and soft focus. The lady in Martin's newsagents doesn't let more than a couple of the boys in at once. By the bin, he lets me wear his puffer jacket. I give it back when the bell goes, my face baking. I don't want him to think of me as anything but girl. Some girls do gymnastics, all legs. Mine stick to the geography stools. When my little lamb gets too big, it drags Grandad up the lane, so he has no choice but to get rid. The family tell me carefully over sticky rice and ribs. The farmer needs him to be a strong daddy to all the babies. I imagine him in the hills until one Christmas I find out he'd been sold for meat. I watch a duckling get eaten on a school trip. I keep a ladybird in the front of my backpack until it gets bruised. I love the way the water boatmen in the washing up bowl glide. Thank you very much. What a weird way to end.
What a gorgeous way to end. Oh, absolutely amazing. Thank you, Laurie Bolger. Woo-woo! please put in the chat where we can follow you, find you, and see what you are up to. Absolutely mint. Right, we have 3 wonderful open micers for you. Yes, we are running a little bit later than we usually do. I know we're usually on time to finish at 8, but who wants to miss out on the words? I don't. So I've been really enjoying them. So we've got 3 left. So please keep up your energy. Listen up to them because they've got some things to share with you. So we've got Georgia next. Let me tell you about Georgia as she comes to the microphone. So Georgia Goodson Platt is a current creative writing MA student at Teesside University. She usually delves into the world of autofiction and biography and has recently breached into the realm of poetry. She is the founder of a website called Benchmark Media, which hosts itself, the portfolio website for creatives. She has also self-published a half novel through Kindle Direct Publishing. So that is absolutely amazing. She's looking to publish a poetry prose anthology by the end of the year. Please go absolutely wild for her as she comes to the microphone.
Bear with me, I'm trying to get my video. There we are. Hi. Am I lagging a little bit? So this first poem was written at the start of spring. Me and my friends had started to go on quite a few hikes in local areas, and it really inspired quite a lot of poetry. So this is Left the Sap to Rot. Stop building houses in the bones of men. Spring rain spitting on dead acorn shells. Belong will never be found unless it's within yourself. Equinox leaves playing in the wild wind. I'd let you rot every tooth in my head with the sweet drippings of sap if it meant one more day.
You still there, Georgia?
I think she's frozen.
She has. Georgia, you still there, my lovely? All right, brilliant. Are we? You still there?
Very good.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, probs.
Bear with me 2 minutes.
Carry on.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, bear with me 2 seconds. This next one is called The Roots of the U. Again, it was written at the same time as the other one, and from the same place as well, at the beginning of spring. Hut on the hill, sun sets behind, a snaking path, bed of a rushing river, an island of moss rock, new lovers lie, hand-fasted and entwined. 30-some steps of stone, 5 tributaries feeding their tongues, fearsome fellow lapping, the feet of star-spun paramours, 100 years etched, stories in sandstone, water empowered, betrayal, mistrust, deceit, leaves of you screaming secretly, held uncomfortable realities, bones of fox and badger, bitten by the other, the fate of 2 lovers, destined to chase, destined to break, in Ouroboros, nevermore. And this final one was written about a month or so after the others, and it has some implicit meanings, and it's about someone that I've met quite recently. I wasn't sure where the situation would lead. The way the winter bleeds into spring, painfully reminiscent of the roots carved into my ribs. The way my skin bruises beneath your hands like the autumn leaves of the diseased larch trees. If I could drown myself in the summer's barley and peated whiskey of your desire, I'm in doubt, lost in whispered threat of stormy horizons, that this is anything more than skin deep. Yep.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Very much, Georgia. Woo!
Thank you.
So good. All right. We have the fabulous Christine Fowler next. So let me tell you a bit about her as she comes to the microphone. Brutal honesty, humour, a quirky imagination, and a wide range of topics all feature in Christine Fowler's poems and prose. She aims to make it accessible and sometimes to challenge or surprise. She's been published in the UK, USA, and Australia, online, in print, in journals, magazines, and anthologies. So give it up for Christine. Woo!
Hi. These are really quite random because it was a last minute decision to come to this tonight. So it was last minute yesterday and I just picked them out quickly to give Rue time to get them sorted for the screen. So this first one is What If Bees Could Talk, and it was first published by Red Penguin Books in 2022. It was part of a Words in the Earth poetry project for environmentally conscious poetry. And it asks a question, and what if bees could talk and send out a crowd-funded appeal for pesticides to be repealed? Would we respond to this internet buzz and save these creatures so intimately entwined with us? Would nature's magic survive the journey through streets and cities to where the Parliament sits? What if Parliament fails to react to the bees' final plea? Ants will go on strike only then, when it's too late, will humanity realise its plight. Thank you, that's the first one. The second one's a really old one, actually. I suppose this should be a little bit of a trigger one because it's about anorexia, but it's a more general look. So it's just called anorexia. I look into the mirror and what do I see? Acres of flesh that belong to me. I put on a dress and what do I feel? Filled with shame at my ghastly frame. I go to the cupboard to fill up my plate and what do I eat? One pea and a grape. I look at other people and what do I see? Perfect figures and clothes that don't fit me. I don't get weird as I know I'm fat. Mirrors don't lie, so on that I rely. My flesh it is sore and I feel every bone when I lie or I sit. But nothing's amiss. My parents, they tell me I need to eat more, but what do they know? They don't see what I see. I walk very slow, but I'm not far to go. Just 10 steps from the house to the ambulance open doors. I collapse on the bed. I can't lift my head. They want me to eat, but that would be a defeat. I look at the doctor. He looks at me. He shakes his head, and what does he see? He sees a body all skin and bone. It makes him so sad he gives a silent groan. But what do I care? I've won my victory. I've reached size 0. It's a child's coffin for me. The end of that one. And then the last one, I did a few poems about arthritis a couple of years ago in particular, before I had like a hip replacement. And this is just one of those. It's called The Knot. I felt it knotted up inside my bones, close my eyes and tightly squeeze behind my lids, a knot dark and tight, staring with evil eyes. It leers and rocks with a cruel laugh. It takes a piss, that bastard wears me down. That arthritis fiend, that traitorous foe that infiltrates my life and refuses to let go. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. Amazing. And now we finally have, oh, please put your socials and anywhere else we can find you and follow you online. That would be amazing. Or just whatever it is that you're up to is really good. Thank
Well,
you.
I've actually got 5 poems that just come out in an anthology. So I'll
Amazing.
stick with the details in that. It's about
Thank you.
mental health issues.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much, Christine. That's fantastic. All right, our final performer tonight is Caroline Walling. Let me tell you a bit about her. So, a woman of wandering words, a boisterous ball of balmy, we can attest. After 4 decades, Caroline is overcoming imposter syndrome and people pleasing by practicing the therapeutic art of two-finger rebellion to anyone saying can't, shouldn't, or mustn't. It's going quite well. In other news, she writes poetry and prose, has 2 children, and works part-time in education while trying to put together her first pamphlet about Stockton-on-Tees. Please go wild as she comes to the microphone. Thank you, Caroline. Woo, woo, woo.
Thanks, Rue. Thanks, everybody, for holding in there. I'm not sure how I'm going to follow all of this quickly, I assume, so that we don't all get tired and fall to sleep. So I've picked all 3 of these are from what hopefully will form a pamphlet, inspired totally by James Cleverley's not so smart remarks about Stockton-on-Tees being a shithole. I'm not even local and I was offended. And so, yeah, I've just been gathering evidence to the contrary, and being a little bit political along the way. So this is the first one. All of these are new. I've not performed them before. The lies they tell the Northeast. Trust us. We can make it better. We will make it better. We are changing this. We know there is more past Manchester and before Scotland. We know you exist. We care. We want to make a difference. We know that you're there. We see you. We hear you. Trust us. We will make it better. We listen. Trust us. You cannot change this for yourselves. You brought it on yourselves. Trust us. Thank you. Yeah, and this one has just been like having had to do loads of research about Stockton and the surrounding area, and being from mid Wales, I kind of can see some affinities between Stockton and my own hometown, and the depreciation, I guess, of a market town that had so much going for it, just slowly just dying and becoming a ghost town and stuff. So how to sink a community. Chide from gilded halls over silver spoons. Cleave their industry and worth. Scour away dignity. Drip feed them, not good enough. Watch it stick. Offer poisoned apples. Wait for the body count. Relegate to shit, tip and skewer incessantly with index fingers. Serve cold with a side snide of hopeless, feckless, criminal. Leave to fester for 50 years. Thank you. And this one is a bit longer, so I'm sorry that I am going to end on this long one. But I love living in the Northeast. You honestly do meet the most friendliest people, and this is a bit poetry posed that I wrote with after a workshop with Natalie Scott the other day. I stopped for St. John's, striking Gothic red brick, black hinges, thick, painted in. Lichen-layered stones in loving memory, scattered under empty trees. A saunter down into the reinvented slag heap. Punked reeds, still trees, alder, pale wintering grass providing for communities. Amongst the grasslands and yellow rattle, ghosts of the ironworks lay silent under the trill of blue tits, blackbirds, bullfinch, chiff-chaff, wren. Out the other side, and the helpful bloke in overalls tells me Darkem used to be Darlington Chemical Works. Now it makes things for bigger projects. His box is full of metal things, presumably with names like flange, hinge, bolt binder, and adjustment thermo screw. At the terrace's top, the solemn royal pub is boarded up now. but nothing spoils the view over the farmland, hedgerows and shrubs. Dunn's corner shop too has been closed for ages, and the post office has a metal shutter, firmly shut. It's quiet everywhere. Nothing going on except birds at the feeders, staked to the end of the allotments, busy before the dark sets in. The sun is a pale egg behind tissue clouds. A chill air is biting my nose, making my fingertips tingle. Are you lost? Says a woman with a pint-sized terrier, silent as a whisker, trotting at her heel. Just exploring. She invites me for a walk with Bolt, her dog. I ponder, why not? And can't think of a reason. So off we go. She says her name is Karen, and without knowing it proves that the world is small. She's from Aberystwyth, practically neighbours, lived here a lifetime. An artist, in between other things. Her daughters are teachers in the schools I've worked at. I think there might be a bit of an issue there with them. I'll go down a little bit. They all love music books. Dogs bond us too. She once had a collie. I've had two. She tells me she misses the green of the hills, and we both know she's right. When her children were younger, their father passed away. I recollect my mum's tears on those nights she thought no one could hear her. There is no moment of silence between us as we make a circuit of the bare fields, follow the furrows to the fence line, climb the gate like children. Sorry, there should be another page there.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think
No,
I've...
that's all right. Don't worry. I've actually got it backed up here. 2 seconds. Like, climb the gate like children. She says she likes the quiet of the people. Been here 41 years, but never a local. I nod. You don't have to travel far to be outside, yet we belong just as much. She stops to tell me they built new houses over the allotments, but didn't factor in the well, chuckling as she does. It's the most local thing I've heard. She's filled this air with all the things she loves best. When we reach where we started, there's an invite for a cuppa. Meet her mum. But I reluctantly decline. She gives me a hug, and I stroll away smiling, full of wonder about how you find friends so often in the Northeast. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm so pleased that you had the final bit of that piece, because I'd have been sad to miss it. Amazing. Thank you so much, Caroline. And please put your socials where we can find and follow you on the chat. And that is our final performer for the night. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Even though we did run over time a little bit. We really appreciate it. And we will be back next month for the fourth Thursday with Mel Chalakwa, who is going to be bringing her stories and her poetry. And it's going to be absolutely brilliant. So we would love to see you there. If you can put in the chat anything or how you found tonight and what you were interested in, that would be amazing, because we can use your comments for testimonials, which is really cool to get the word out about what we're doing here and why it's so good to be at TWOOMPH. And it has been such a dream to have you all here tonight. Thank you so much for coming. If you haven't had tea, go get some. If you have had tea, go get yourself a drink and enjoy the rest of your evening. It's been